A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast, tackling content with adult themes, as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us.
Hey there, this is Cross.
And I'm PJ.
And I'm Ben.
And I'm Aaron.
And I'm Thomas. And together we are Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club. Now,
do you think anybody noticed that Cross wasn't here?
I think we played it off
I
pretty
think
well.
We have multitudes of Cross here. We are all the children of Crossland.
Cross looked at my notes and added one thing, so I think I am become Cross, devourer of joy.
We are children of the father of the podcast, Words and Whiskey.
Yes. So all you lovely listeners out there, Cross, we don't know what happened to him. He left about a week ago. He said heading out to get some lotto tickets and a patch of sage. I haven't seen him since.
He must have won.
Yeah.
And, listeners out there, I'm not the co-host. I'm the host that stepped up. You know what I mean?
I think Cross got abducted by Baruchan gangsters.
Oh, wow. That's a good call.
So we need to pay up.
We're
going to get him back.
Training montage. It's going to give it to you. We're going to save you, Cross.
I think the fact that he hasn't called any of us means that maybe someone else is taking care of it, and we can just kind of wait it out.
The B team?
He knows we won't pay up.
So we'll descend with our finest fists and fingers and save him.
Will we?
I don't know.
I'll consider it.
But
if I
won't, but I'll think about it.
Fists and fingers. I might. Did anyone else think those Danny Sinjo movies sounded a little sexual?
Like Fast Fist.
The Fast Fist.
I hadn't considered that, but now I am.
That's where I'm at.
I pictured a guy just like rabbit punching another man in the chest.
Or in the throat.
Maybe that's why nobody liked the third one. Who knows?
Took a turn.
Yeah. But I don't know how to segue into that. Regardless of turns, today is our 5th episode, and we'll be tackling chapters 36 through 45 in Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. But before we dive in, let's talk about our featured cocktail, which is, PJ and I have it. It's very laborious for you listeners out there. It's inspired by our guy, Carl Rulinshin. He's got a cool shirt, non-reactive to bullshit. And so, listener Ivana, we're going to shout her out. She suggested we do straight vodka, made that a featured cocktail. I don't have vodka. I have gin. I'm a gin guy. And so, PJ, bottoms up, my friend.
Cheers.
British version of Ostrovia.
Oof. Oh, you took a shot of gin. Wow.
Nothing good ever happens when you take a shot of gin.
I don't know if I've ever taken a shot of gin.
Last time I did, it was
like a
3:30 in the morning.
Shot material. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was.
Shouldn't take shots after midnight.
No, you should not. It was not good. My friends came into the kitchen, saw me doing it. They're like, what's going on, buddy?
What kind of gin did y'all just take a shot of?
Well, I tell you, but they didn't pay me to, so I will not.
Is it flowery?
Mine was Bombay Sapphire.
Mine was not.
Which is not super flowery,
Ugh.
but very flavorful.
Well, Ben and I are drinking Negronis, which have gin in them. And it's also, I don't know if you've noticed, the only cocktail I know how to make.
You must be really good at it, though.
She is.
It's pretty easy. 3 parts. I can do 3 equal parts. No math involved. Thank you. I'm not the engineer here.
Isn't there a fair amount of math in architecture?
Nope. That's what the engineers do.
It's all on me. All right.
It's where the mortal enemy ship between architects and engineers come in.
Here, do
giving
my
us
math,
things to
please.
produce that are impossible.
Calculate this, bitch. All right. Just kidding. We're best friends.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a civil engineer, so I just work on machinery.
Does that mean you're a hostile engineer?
I do not work with architects. Haven't yet. So
that was good, Thomas.
As a rule, as conviction, I refuse to work with architects. I'm kidding. I would love to work with you.
You're working with one
Aaron.
now. So, joke's on you. We're fighting.
We're fighting.
Well,
we're mad at each other.
Put that aside because we have to talk about the chapters. PJ, Ben,
we do.
Aaron, how'd you feel about this week's reading?
Action packed.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah, I kept listening to it today. I listened to it 3 times today, the entire series of chapters. It's so much fun. It's a fun set of chapters. I liked Rue's perspective in college. Is that the first Rue perspective that we've gotten?
I think it's his point of view when they go to watch the duel with Otto, but he's like a little shithead kid.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I really like that too. Rue's growing on me. Nico's still annoying.
Get to see Tar.
Yeah.
Dude, when Tar did the throat punch, I was like, yes! I like really wanted it to happen. And then it happened. I was like so excited that like what I wanted to happen happened right when I wanted it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was nice.
I had lost
kind
hope
of feel
in that happening.
Feel that building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
you
interesting,
could feel
PJ.
the anticipation of action.
What did you say, PJ?
When they had mentioned that it had been a year of working towards this, I had like lost hope in it being that plan or any sort of inside man thing, but so happy to see it pay off like that.
Also, they were absolutely not rolling with enough security in Shotar.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I have fucking notes about that, Ben. Let's save it.
Like, what are we doing?
I have thoughts.
Like, aren't the Shatarians like your old school mortal enemy where you're just like, oh, we'll be friends?
And they know it's crawling with gangsters.
naive.
They know it's like one of the strongest areas of the mountain.
2 green bones?
It's like, it's shade.
3,
Nah,
you can't
let's
shade.
save it.
Yeah,
Let's save
asking
it.
for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like we're
She's
ready
like
to get
40
into the
now.
chapters.
She's older than 40. It said Andon's like 38.
Yeah.
And I was like, Andon's older than me? Since
Yeah, she's
when?
like 50 now. I know she has a
I
kid,
think they're-
so she's probably like mid 40s.
She was 40 when Tia was
When she
born.
had the kid.
Yeah.
And Tia's like, what? 6?
These smaller time jumps almost make it harder to keep track of time than the big
Yeah.
ones because you're like, we've moved like 10 months, so how old is everybody? You have to do a lot of math. So that brings us to chapter 36, A Fresh Start. We open this week with the bad cat himself, John Remy, who after learning that her old friend Mate Tar has made his way to Restville and been asking after him, he has the former Pillar Man of No Peak brought to him. The pair talk and Tar agrees to work for Remy. So I feel like most of what's interesting about this chapter sort of paid off later in chapter 41. But there are a few interesting things here as well. Remy, for all his lack of decorum and in calling him a boor, B-O-O-R. And, so he's got no class, he's got no subtlety. He's actually pretty good at being a crime boss. He's paranoid, not overly so. He's like keeping himself safe at all times, knows he has a lot of enemies. Maybe No Pete could learn a thing or two from him.
Yeah, he like sends his people ahead to scope the restaurants. He's ready for an assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Shay, apparently.
That was like, unlike Aguilar, throwback sports meme.
I don't get it.
3 other people will, and it'll be okay.
I'm clueless, but I think this is a big. So I like to think that maybe they could learn something from this. No Peak being they in this scenario, but they don't need to. In most cases, going out to eat, like they're going to places that are their places. Like they own this section of the city, and they don't really have to worry about one-off assassination attempts.
It just meant literally based on what we talked about in
maybe
Shatar.
through the. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah,
But yeah, in general, obviously, there's no reason to.
Except for Clanless Future Movement, who can kind of weave between the lines a little bit.
Yeah,
but
but
they've been ostracized and decimated.
A little fucks. So when this first happens, did you immediately think, Tar's doing this for no Pete? Did you think maybe he had fallen to the dark side a little bit, desperate for work?
It was weird. At first I did not consider the fact that he could be like a sleeper agent for no peak at all. Like I thought, oh man, this is bad for Tar. But it's funny, like this chapter, I was totally like, wow, this is bad for Tar. It's bad look for him. He must be really off the rails. But as soon as as soon as the next chapter started with him, where it was like he's about to get his Jade, I was like, oh shit, I understand the plan now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, but just mentally, that's kind of where I was at.
I thought that I didn't think anyone from No Peak hired him. I thought he heard that Remy was a problem and he was like, I'm going to redeem myself. So I thought he was like a sleeper agent of his own accord.
That's exactly what I thought when I first read it.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, he's going to like get in trouble trying to like redeem himself, basically.
I was in Ben's camp initially, the very first. And then, so first read through, totally like thought, oh shit, like he's
bad.
He's been getting craving, like Jade cravings or something. And this is like his only viable way that he can think of to kind of soothe that craving, and just thought darkness was creeping over him again. But in subsequent read-throughs, there is some very, very, very clever writing being done on the part of Fonda Lee here, in that she's pointing to perception and lying and everything, and he never says anything that's a lie. He's very, very calculated in what he's saying to him.
Like he's saying he hasn't talked to Hilo. Or what's he say?
He'd never get Jade from
No
Peak. He doesn't have a life. Like he has nothing from No Peak and no prospect to get anything from No Peak.
And Andon isn't even like technically in the clan.
Right. Exactly. Also, going forward a little bit to the Andon chapter, is this the first like flashback?
I think we should save it for then, probably, but I think it is. I don't know if I actually made a note. I meant to,
except
but it is
for
kind
the,
of weird.
The interludes.
Yeah.
Well, the interludes, yeah, that's true. But the first non-sequential, like primary storytelling.
I think we did a few. Like, I think we did one when they set out to battle in Jade City. I think there's one with the grandfather.
Okay.
Like after Londice?
I think so. Or like when he's going to meet Gaunt Ash or something. Like there are a few, I think. And Andon has one where he flashes back to Lon coming to see him the previous year's pre-trials.
Gotcha.
But it is very rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
And it's
well done.
We did all these time jumps, so it is that I think that made it more staggering in this book because we did all the time jumps. To have one, like a retroactive time jump, was kind of weird.
By like over a year back. Yeah, really, really well done reveal by Fonda like, through these.
This is again maybe just a reference I'll get, but like in Psych, they do
I love Psych.
That's my favorite show. So you know how most episodes open with like his dad teaching him something, and then sometimes it'll flash back to it in the episode. It felt very much like that to me, where they're like 18 months earlier.
Yeah,
this exact thing happened to set it up.
I need to rewatch Psych.
It's the best.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh my god.
Same.
All right. Anything else anyone wants to bring up for chapter 36? All right. Moving on to chapter 37, Leaving Home, the 20th year, 3rd month. It's been about a month since Nico revealed his intentions to join GSI. And despite his aloof nature and self-assurance, he's having some last-minute jitters as he readies to board the plane to Espenia. He bids farewell to his Uncle Andon and reminisces about Rue's determined attempts to make him reconsider his plan the previous evening. Andon waits expectantly for Hilo to show, and just as he gives up hope, the pillar arrives. Hilo gives his son a list of emergency contacts and tells him he has access to his bank accounts once again. After leaving, he gets into some just really cool spy shit and sends a young no-peak finger and 2 golden spiders undercover into GSI to help protect Nico while overseas. So this is just a very emotional chapter, honestly, and then I was thankful for the cool spy shit at the end because it was just like, let me breathe, thank you.
I'm glad Hilo didn't cut him out and then have to cut Andon out, but I still think it's dumb that Nico's doing this.
Yeah. Did you? So was there any part of you that thought Hilo would cut both of them off?
I mean, he could have. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like set on him.
I thought once the conversation was had, Andon had the conversation, like Hilo would come around.
Mm-hmm.
I expected.
Yeah, like it was kind of set up for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. I think transactionally, it's not really important. I think either way, Hilo would have come around at some point. But if it was about a transaction, Andon's too important to the clan at this point. And personally to Hilo.
As we see later, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was transactional. I think it was just him, Andon made him come to his senses and realize, hey, you can skip the 5 years of being bitter about this. And also it's like, Hilo's grown, he's older, this is his son. So he can forgive easier than he could in the past.
I think that comes up also later on with when he's talking to Shay about parenting.
Just an emotional week, honestly. And the end is so dark. It's just a lot.
Yeah, the end leaves you just feeling real bad.
So, some couple notes earlier in this. Uncle Andon is the only member of the family that Nico could be comfortably silent with, he says. Also calls him his favorite relative, which I feel like just makes a lot of sense given the parallels between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah, Andon's a good uncle.
Mm-hmm. Just lets his nephew be himself and vibe. And it's interesting, too.
Andy has more empathy than, Hilo does for feeling out like an outsider in the family.
Yeah.
Given this week's activities with Nico, I could see him following Andon's footsteps and going the
doctor route.
I like the idea of just using Jade for good and for healing people as opposed to death.
It's interesting. We do see Andon kind of get like a primer on being like, oh, medical channeling, kind of cool. And then we have Nico here being like, here's a situation where if I knew how to do medical channeling, it would be pretty sick. But so, if I'm remembering math correctly, I think our architect and engineer could probably tell me better. Parallel lines do not touch. They mirror each other, but do not touch, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So Andon, growing up, so anxious to fulfill his duties and place in No Peach his whole life. He's like anxious to pay off the debt, and it causes him to eventually do too much in the war with the Mountain Clan and withdraw from it. Nico just has been bombarded with expectations and his inability to reconcile that with himself and how he views himself, how he views his place in the world, makes him reject it entirely and resent the expectations rather than embrace it. And so I just thought that was interesting to see them both end up peeling away from No Pete, but for the same but opposite reasons.
Yeah.
That's a good read, yeah.
That's a really good point.
It's good Nico has at least someone in his life.
Yeah.
With similar, viewpoints.
Yeah, a resource. Did Nico and Rue's conversation just was that sad for anyone else?
I mean, it's like the talent or the gift was given to the wrong kid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Rue's kind of all in for the clan and wants to be part of the family, whereas, Nico obviously had a different upbringing. His parents were murdered. So it's not as
some would say
lighthearted as
executed.
Rue's.
I wonder if that difference in expectation is what causes that
right
fervor in
Rue
wanting to be
wishes
able
he
to
had-
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rue wishes he had what Nico had and probably vice versa.
I think that's Very much so. It's like how when in one of the previous books says like when you don't have expectations, you feel the lack of them your whole life.
Yep.
I thought it was kind of sweet that he was like, Rue's the only person that can convince me
Yeah. So
not to go.
he does say that, but the way he deals with it, it's so fucked. And it reminded me kind of the like, go on, get. I don't want, like, when a kid has to scare away the dog in movies and stuff. But it was just so like, we're not kids anymore, Rue. Like, I don't know. And he says he has to harden his heart to prevent Rue from changing his mind, like you said, Ben. But it's still just be like, and they're kids, kind of. I think Nico's 22 or whatever. But like, I don't know. It just made me sad for Rue.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think Rue's also smart enough to understand what's happening.
yeah, I was gonna say Rue's gonna be okay. He's got emo vibes and a sick T-shirt after this.
And Coco,
he's not a dog.
the old dog
Coco
that
can't-
still gets excited.
Coco can't go to school though.
I feel like, I would call, if I'm Rue, I'm like, hey, read the last name. You know what I'm saying? I'm bringing Toto. I'm bringing my dog.
Sneak him in.
Seems like the least of the abuses the tall children have gotten up to lately.
That's pretty true.
So Hilo finally shows up, and Nico just very in his head about this. But, I was pretty proud of how Hilo handled the thing.
I think Nico was pretty mature about the confrontation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like stifled the knee-jerk reactions, which I know their family is like, that's a hard habit to drop given Shay and her like knee-jerk reactions all the time.
Yeah. And Hilo, his whole life, he's his father's son.
If Hilo had approached Nico while they were still at Andon's, maybe there would have been more of a fight. But I think Hilo came after Nico was feeling like regretful and insecure about his choice. So I think he was a little less bullheaded, and he was starting to feel the beginnings of homesickness. So I think Hilo probably caught him at a more vulnerable time, which is why he wasn't as knee jerky. And he wants the money.
I mean, he also doesn't seem to be.
Accounts.
He seems to be not, like they say, he's not good at voicing his emotions in the moment. Before, like, he seems like he kind of stews in things and takes time to think and reflect, and then comes up with a perfect comeback a couple days later.
Me too, man.
Which is super helpful in that conversation.
I do have a quote here about their little final goodbye before we get to the cool spy shit. Hilo cupped a hand roughly around the back of Nico's head, pulling his nephew close, and spoke in a low declaration. I would cut Jim Sunto's throat and burn his company to the ground if I thought that would stop you. His grip tightened fiercely on the back of Nico's neck. But I know it's not about that. I love you enough to see that you have the right to hate me. Just remember, I only ever made the decisions I thought were best for you. Very Hilo. Also very Tony Soprano.
Also very, like, dad shit.
Mm-hmm.
I only ever did
I was proud of Hilo for that
was best for
conversation.
you. It's like in every movie with parent
Sports dad.
conflict. Sports dad. Hilo's such a sports dad.
But that brings us to the...
I was proud of him for supporting the decision, despite the sort of venom in the delivery of that support. Like, it is him saying, like, I'm going to let you make your choices and be your own person. Be independent. So, I mean, if it's the right decision or not, or if Hilo agrees with it or not, it's irrelevant. And he's still Hilo through this conversation, but he's a supportive dad at the end of it.
Daddy Hilo. Gotta love him.
Yeah, I feel like in Jade City, for sure, he would just break Nico's legs and bring him back home and be like, he'll forgive me eventually for the broken legs, but you're not doing this. In Jade War, he probably, like, beats him and lets him go. And here, like, it's just real growth from our guy, and we love to see it. All right. So Lot pulls up in the Lumeza FT Scorpion, which just sounds awesome. Like, I don't know what it is, but I do.
I drive a FT Scorpion. You didn't know that?
Cherry red, though, I'm betting.
Doesn't even fit in my garage. So big.
Nice. I feel like it's asleep. That's how I pictured it.
I don't know.
But just like the way this whole scene is written, it was giving me like Charlie Angels vibes, kind of, but just like spy, and I loved it. So we got cool tar picking Hilo up at the curb. First fist of Jan Loon, first fist of the White Rats. So we see the new like organizational structure that Juen put in, very formalized now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a select team of green bones going in to infiltrate GSI and gather information and protect Nico.
Yeah, this was definitely a movie scene.
Yeah, this was show off the spy gadget shit.
And it just was like, we started off in like the 70s, and now we got cool watches with listening devices in them, and other cool like Bud Jade jewelry, credit cards, so they can like swipe
gadget.
in, let them know like, hey, I'm in this country. Hey, we're in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what would be sort of the equivalent time, like mid-90s?
I thought that, and then all of a sudden there's like pretty casual cell phones at the end, which is that mid-90s, like how casual the cell phones are brought up.
I mean, wealthy families.
Maybe. So like
they existed.
The Danes just had it for this one thing, maybe. I just thought it was like so crazy because there was a floppy disk in last week's reading, which I mean, we had floppy disks even when I was using computers at first, I remember, but like, so it wasn't that long ago, but it feels forever ago. And then they're tracking fucking phone calls. They're tracing phone calls at the end of this week's reading.
Yeah.
Guess they were they
tech wizards?
Were they tracing calls in Point Break? I don't remember.
Yeah, things are accelerating. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's cool too because like, you know, we spend like at this point 22 years with this family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's 22 years at this point.
But
that's just 22 years from Hilo becoming the Horn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's even a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it's probably like 23 all in. Because I think it's like the 22nd year, 10th month by the end or something of this week. Okay, so we have the spies. Obviously, we see Taiji Ino, I think, is with Nico. What do we think comes of these spies? Does Nico find out? Does Jim Sunto find out?
I feel like Nico has to know, right? You think he thinks he's just a random recruit?
Yeah,
yes,
he definitely does. I mean, they stagger it, so he's
that.
on different flights, and they're like all three of them leave on separate flights. They're like different. Two aren't even no peak.
Right, it almost makes it more obvious.
Well, I mean, he doesn't know their flight schedule. That's mostly for Jim, I think. But that is interesting. You know, Jim's a high up military guy. Maybe he'll figure it out.
Seems like if anybody's going to figure it out, it's going to be Jim.
And what would the repercussions be? We know they're not going to kill him.
Yeah,
they might, or even triple them.
He does much other than just like strip them and
fire them.
Yeah, with a message probably.
I don't know if he. I think he'll find out only because of this incident.
Okay,
and it'll come from Taiji.
Because Taiji will believe in Aisho a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah,
I feel like he has to tell a no-peat person or something.
Yeah, something like that. It'll or the cameras that he's wearing are going to cause an incident.
Oh, that's a good point.
Cause retaliation or cause a reaction.
Be like, hey,
some
Hilo.
of his tech will be discovered.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know, but they did a great job of like camouflaging the candidates. Like these are people that would very conceivably be better off running from no peak.
Yeah, and only the family knows. Everybody else thinks they're bad. It was like full on. Like also shows how far no peak has come with. Like this is a full on, well thought out scheme cobbled together in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you have resources.
And like not psychopaths running your spy arm of your clan.
I wonder if this plan was in place before Nico was even considered or like considering joining. Like they just wanted people on the inside of GSI.
Interesting.
That is a good idea. It does seem like it came together pretty quickly.
Or Hilo's been working on it since Nico declared he was joining.
Yeah.
Before
he
even,
probably
yeah.
wouldn't have a reason
So
to
it'd be a month.
inside of GSI otherwise.
Yeah, I feel like Hilo would be just like, think it's so dishonorable he wouldn't even want to spy on them. Like, it wouldn't be worth the honor of those spies because his son is in danger. All right. Chapter 38. We've got to do something. Barrow makes his slimy return to Janloon after 6 years on the Uwiwan island of Awansa. He returns to the Little Persimmon bar and finds his old CFM colleague Tadino, who catches Barrow up on some of what he's missed the past few years and hints at plans to start a renewed war between the clans. Maybe I feel like he alludes, I don't know what he does, but there's mention of a plan kind of to start a war between the clans, or an idea. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah, it was the bartender, right?
I don't know the right verbiage, but he more than hints at it. But that's all I could think of to say.
Yeah, inciting clan violence.
Yeah. So Barrow just loves Janloon. Kind of love to see it, I guess. Just like me, for real, in that sole single instance, loving his hometown.
Yeah, what was the term? Like, even rats have a sewer to call home.
The instant he was back in Janloon, however, Barrow felt better, as if he'd been slowly turning on a cooking spit for years and finally been plunged into a cool tub of Sauve. On his first day back, he sat on a park bench in Pawpaw, soaking the city back into his pores. The grease of street food, the sounds of the hawkers and cab drivers shouting in Tetanese, the spring damp on his parched skin. Even garbage in Janloon smelled better than it did elsewhere. The rats were sleeker.
The rats
gotta get those sleek rats.
He's like, those other rats, fat. Janloon rats, fast as fuck, boy.
Look how good that rat looks.
He's
wearing a top hat.
He grabs the rat, brings it back. He's like, look at these rats.
This is what you should aspire to be.
Gallo and Birdland come to apprehend him. He's like, look at these rats. Couldn't leave them.
And Barrow just can't stay away.
Nope. We also learn
he needs drama to feel alive.
He also ran out of money and doesn't really speak the other languages.
Bored, yeah, and miserable. Tough that the food there sucks on an island. Not expecting that. I was expecting them to have some cool food going on, which they very well could. And Barrow's just an idiot.
Barrow, like we talked about all the fruit and everything that Zapunya was eating in Uwiwa. Uwiwa?
On one of the islands.
Is that the proper?
Least. Yeah, this is a very specific island that Barrow's on.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was like, they eat mush stuff in palm leaves.
Could be good if it's the right kind of mush.
Could be good.
Yeah.
He also, by his own words now, he's 36, which is interesting to know, which he categorizes as fucking old.
Agreed.
We had a bit of a conversation about this, or some comments about this in the Discord, and you can roll your eyes about 36 being too fucking old, but it is like twice the age he should have made it to.
Yeah.
So
it's fucking old when you don't have a job.
Yeah.
No legitimate skills to find a real job. He has to be a criminal.
No prospects.
Yeah.
He's not even a sugar baby.
And he's got his fucked up half face. Yeah, and he can't even be like, hey, I'm young in a fucked up face. Tough. In his wizened old age, he has gone softer. He's more cautious.
And for good reason. Like, he could get so fucked here.
You think he'd learn by now, so I'm glad he has at least learned a little bit.
I'm kind of surprised he didn't call and threaten Gallo and Birdland and be like, hey, I could write a best-selling novel here. You better pay me more. You know what I mean? Like, spill the beans.
That is a death wish. Just making that
just
phone call is such a death wish.
How do we think Tadino intends to stir up clan war?
Clan on clan violence is not hard to stir up.
All right, that was a political answer, Aaron. I want specifics. I want reckless speculation.
Barrow's already done it.
I was going to say, like,
Barrow
Barrow's
has
very
experience in starting clan wars.
He's already started one himself, so he's at the right source with Barrow.
I didn't think of that.
But yeah, it seems like causing trouble and making it look like it's the other side is the way to do it. How they harm greenbones that are not overdosing on shine, and having a heart attack, I don't know. But
and are now hyper aware of bombs, so it's
right.
You need some snipers, I guess.
What if it's like an attack ad, like political people do?
We talked about this before.
Smear
Are
campaign.
you tired of your clan?
But how is that going to do? How does that lead to war? That's what they should have done when they were the Clanless Future. They were just handing out fucking flyers. They should have been on TV and radio.
No one asked me.
Maybe technology has advanced to the point where they have biological weapons that they could easily have access to. They can ignore the bombs, ignore the flashy things, just
start a plague,
poison the water supply. I don't know.
Just kill everybody in the city. They're going to go to the tall estate and poison the well. I like it. All right. Chapter 39. The Stone Eye Club. Call Rue, all grown up. He's in college, enjoying his newfound freedom. Feeling lonely, he goes to a meeting of the student chapter for the Charitable Society for Non-Reactivity, a club dedicated to overturning stigmas against Stone Eyes and Abuke. Despite his trepidation when he gets to the meeting, Rue strikes up an unlikely friendship with the club's leader, an intellectual, in quotes, provocateur named Dano. So I have a hot take here.
Yes.
Rue,
is it Dano from Red Rising?
Rue seems like the most normal, well-adjusted, healthy mindset having member of the No Peak, or a member of the Tall family.
100%.
He's just a normal dude.
Well, his sister's clearly a little aggressive.
Listen, I have a whole list here. Nico rejected his expectations too strongly, a little creepy. Andon felt the pressure of responsibility too keenly, a little sad boy, a little depressed. Jaya kind of seems like spoiled youngest daughter, may have really suffered the most from Wen's recovery, coupled with Hilo being busy and just like spoiling her, too lax with her. We'll discuss that more next chapter, I feel like. Lan, Hilo, Shay just didn't really have a chance to turn out normal, raised by their war hero father, our grandfather, who was evil. Grew up a totally different way from the kids in a post-war torn country. Not really modern, pre-modern industrial society here. Tia, she's still a baby, but just soft.
I love that. 6-year-old soft.
Doesn't like hot
fucking soft.
She's just like, what are we going to do?
What a little bitch.
Hilo's like, that's fine. Wen's like, what are we going to, or Shay's like, what are we going to do?
She cried about the thing literally titled Massacre.
So funny. They're like, oh, we're not cheering because they're dead. We're cheering because they killed her. Or I messed that up. You know what I mean.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, she's soft. For sure. Fucking soft.
Yeah.
Grow up,
kid.
Rue seems great. He does seem overly trusting. Maybe a little naive in that sense. He's not cautious enough.
He does kind of see the best. And yeah, like you said, well adjusted. He seems like a very normal, like college kid, like getting into clubs and kind of like alt groups and, liberal thinking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he seems.
Yeah, I think it's good for him.
Yeah. I think the scene where he goes to the library and interacts with the aide there, and then we get the stories of people coming up to him on campus and stuff. It really seems like he, as a whole, has just like balanced the freedoms and lack of expectations that come with being non-reactive, but also like took in a lot of the characteristics of his mother of being like, I'm still part of the clan. I have to and want to do what's best for the clan. And he's like, he just really seems in a lot of ways to be the best parts of Wen and Hilo.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if you were to attribute a parent, I feel like that he's, like much more like Wen. Jaya, obviously, much more like Hilo.
Yeah, even like when we meet Hilo, he's 27, he's the Horn, so he's a little more grown up, but it does make you think he probably was actually just like her in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of that. So I did think, I know like the obvious comparison is him, but she just seems like a watered down and like crazier version of him, but that does seem like the vibe he gave off then.
Yeah. When we get into Jaya, I have some interesting thoughts on her. I feel like
Exciting.
Yeah.
There's another, maybe I'm just soft, but heartbreaking bit on how he wanted to be Nico's right hand, kind of like how Wen is for Hilo. It's very sad.
I mean, it might happen still.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
So what do we make of the Stone Eye Club?
Seems good. I like it. Like,
yeah,
meet people that you have something in common with, make yourselves feel better.
Best way to meet people in school is to join a club.
Yeah, common interest. And then like it's also something where like they can band together for, a thing that's seen as a deficiency and make it into kind of their thing that makes them special, which is cool.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the beginning, given that it's not called the Stone Eye Club. It's called the what's the term for it?
I have it here.
Charitable Society for Non-Reactivity. So I'm like, okay, probably mostly Abuke, I would assume. And it's 5 Abuke people in this first meeting, and then 7 Stone Eyes. But then it talks about how there's a Abuke specific club on campus as well. So I'm like, okay, now that makes more sense. Cool. Like, very cool to see not only the fact that this club exists, but that meeting talking about, like, we've all probably had experiences of feeling alone. And, like, we're the only ones given this deficiency as it's seen. And it's just great that Nico's falling in with people like him as you're one to do in college. It makes total sense. And it's, I think, a great way to make Nico's perspective and story compelling and important and relevant to the greater story that's being told.
Yeah, and showing other groups of people, showing non-clan or non-Jade people that aren't like the antagonists, like the clanless future. I think that's good.
Yeah, it's good for us from a reader's perspective to finally see that.
Yeah. I also think it's good for Rue's growth as a person to have intellectual arguments and to have Dano like talking to him, quote unquote, disrespectfully, or being like, hey, by the way, I don't agree with, what your dad does, like, I think it's same for Nico. He's having people kind of disrespect him a little. I think that'll make both of them like more fully formed adults.
I did not like Dano. Annoying. I went to a very...
He seems like a kid you meet in college.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
100%.
But I went to a very liberal college, and there's like 100 kids like him. Like when someone says parochial, it's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anything else you said.
But you can
Trying
also
too hard.
see like why people would think he's cool, you know?
He's bold with his opinions.
Yeah. And he's like,
And he's drunk all the time.
yeah, and
all
he's
the time.
into stuff, and he just has stuff to say. He sounds smart, and like
Interesting.
for me, a lot of times I listen to those people, I'm like, this person's full of shit.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
some people don't. They see it as like, oh wow, that person's confident and they've got a point of view, and so like at that point, those are natural kind of following situations.
So where do we think things go with Rue and Dano's friendship? Jaya has some concerns.
Oh, I'm sure
I
that,
think Jai is right.
yeah, I think there will be like a big argument or something the clan does will make Rue kind of have to pick sides with this club and Dano and his family, and he'll pick his family. Like, I think there'll be some conflict for him. I mean, how much book is left though? There's a lot of storylines.
Fair amount.
Yeah. There's probably like 300 pages left.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
250.
It's satisfying. Things get wrapped up. Don't you worry.
All right.
Am I allowed to say
Good
that,
to know.
PJ? Because
Yeah.
I did.
Cross isn't here. You can say whatever you want.
I mean, we
I'm
know
the
you guys
boss.
like the book, so you can say you were satisfied with the ending.
Yeah, if
I
you
don't
weren't,
think we'd
I'd
be
like,
talking
what the
about it
fuck?
if it wasn't satisfying.
be very annoyed at the end of this.
You guys are
I
going
would-
to hate this ending.
Guys,
It's a great
I'm not gonna
series.
lie to you. 7 of these plot lines just dropped.
I think the sort of what's the phrase? If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
It's
Like,
a
Chances
goat.
are it's probably a duck.
Yeah, Dano maybe isn't actively involved in the Clannis Future movement and like the violent anarchist, as Rue calls them all the time, and is like he will be soon if he's not already. And Rue seems to have these blinders on that like their conversations are strictly academic, and that like he's saying things that are provocative and could lead people to think that he has these feelings and genuinely holds these ideals to be true.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. Sorry.
No,
I have
no, that's
musical
perfect.
Tourette's.
Absolutely
So-
perfect. I can't imagine he doesn't follow through with these things that he's professing in a more real way. And I think that's going to burn
You
Rue,
think that goes?
or it's going to get Rue wrapped up into
You
it.
think that goes a violent
after a
way
certain
and
amount of
not
time.
like he becomes a politician that causes trouble for no peach, or like something like that?
I mean, that'd be
He starts a third
maybe
party.
the
Starts a new
best
religion.
outcome I could think of.
Dano, the cult leader.
That'd be the best outcome I could think of.
So we have a note here from our intrepid absentee father, Crossland. Dano is in many ways supporting the world that Marrow thought was coming. Do we think he would have been a politician had he not been so easily blackmailed? I think that means Marrow.
I don't know. He seemed too soft to be a politician.
Didn't Marrow said he wanted to run for office and be independent? That was like why him and Hilo got in an argument at dinner, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I think you did talk about that.
Hmm.
Or if
I don't know if he
So
would
you
have
think he
ever
would have been
done
an
it, though.
effective politician had he not been so
Yeah.
easily blackmailed.
I think he would have been a wannabe politician. I think he would have run for office. I don't think he would have had the tenacity to follow through with it and to like get elected.
I think it would have
Yeah,
been
I don't know.
very AOC.
It's too idealistic.
Yeah, like AOC hasn't passed a bill the entire time she's been in Congress, right? So I think it would have been very much that where he creates like a loud public thing, but then it's very much when it comes to actual governance put in his place.
Yeah, that's like not willing to play the game as it is. The rules are set. Like there's people that get shit done in that arena, and yeah, it's easy to be like, we should tear down this entire system, and you can convince some people of that, but you'll never, like, as entrenched as the power is. I don't know. It just becomes too idealistic. So either you have to kind of give up your ideals and work within the system and probably not follow through on all those promises that you really want, or you can keep all your promises or keep your ideals, but you'll never get anything done.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. Like, I mean, you see it in state politics, especially, just like anyone can run for office, and often anyone can win. So, like, people come in with all these bold promises, and they get into these
Right.
entrenched systems, and like they're lucky to get anything. Like, they're lucky to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think that would have been like he would have run for office. We would have gotten like one little thing about it. He would, and then never hear from him again if he hadn't been executed for treason.
And he
Coward.
just wasn't like, he's not like ruthless enough
Right.
Yeah.
to
Anyway.
like use the system to
He's
his
not
advantage.
ruthless enough to even win a political race, to even become a politician.
Right.
So Cross isn't here to retort. He'll have to hear this while editing and or while listening and suffer. Rest in piss, Marrow. You won't be missed. Which brings
I
us
thought
to...
you were going to call Cross the piss boy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, resting piss with the piss boy.
That's where he is. He's piss boying around, pissing this whole time.
Dude, that's such an a porta potty. Which brings us to chapter 40. Difficult Daughters. The 21st year, first month. A little time jump here, about 9 months, which sees us returned to Tall Dusharan Academy, where Jaya, now at year 7, is crushing the pretrials, and all of her family, save Nico, is in attendance. All goes well despite Tia's grief over the massacre of the mice, and we cut to the main house on the tall estate where Hilo and Shay discuss their children and the clan's potential expansion into Shatar over a bottle of Hochi. The business discussion is interrupted by news that Jaya is in jail for what we learn is stabbing a former lover for the attempted rape of her friend. And the chapter ends with the fallout from that.
Take a drink.
You know, yeah. My drink is
I
disgusting.
am genuinely surprised that Hilo wasn't a little bit more
proud of
like,
her.
I get that he has to be hard about this, but given the reasoning, like the situation that was going down, I'm surprised that he wasn't a little bit more lenient or giving a little bit into the situation itself.
So-
But she's wearing Jade illegally and
True.
at a party, both things of which she's not supposed to be doing. So she's just completely lawless. He's got to put his foot down.
Yeah, I think it's
That's true.
I think it's the culmination of everything more than the particular action in defending her friend, because I think really what sets him off is the Jade and that she's hiding it. And then he has to deal with the fucking councilwoman or councilman, whatever, son. Like, she stabbed the only son of a councilman. So it's just like a political headache for him.
That's fair.
Honestly, though, like, we stand with Jaya. I feel confident in saying we're on her side in that instance.
Yeah, stab him. Stab the rapey bastard.
I don't understand I mean, it turned out to be a weirdly
Yeah,
semi-correct assumption that she was sleeping with him, but I don't get how that jump happened.
I don't think he knew the whole story.
Explaining the situation to, were you sleeping with him?
So I think
Like, I don't...
he thought, I don't know. Maybe he thought it was done out of jealousy before she explained. I forget the exact. I forget if he says he
That
was
could be
attacking
right.
her first.
It seems like at first he thinks that she stabbed him because he was hooking up with her friend. I don't
And
know.
then
That's
it's-
kind of what I.
And
Then
he's
it
like, you're in
unravels.
parties, you're wearing Jade. Are you having sex?
Yeah, I think-
But
and then-
she's
okay.
like, no, he was rapey.
So to rewind here,
Yeah.
we're at the pre-trials. Jaya's doing pretty good. The whole family's there, even Andon and Jeruya. Who I think we got it right this time. And she like blows. I forget what she does. She like does something like rude to one of the boys, and then blows a kiss to another boy in the stands. And Hilo's like, "What the fuck was that?" And like looks around.
yeah.
So he's already got that.
Yeah,
He's
I
already
mean,
a little
Hilo's-
alarmed.
Hilo's ready to kill everybody.
He's like, "Wait a
It's his
minute.
baby girl.
My daughter blew a kiss at someone, I will shut this school down." And then Tia is just alarmed by the massacre of mice, which we already talked about. And Shay is like equally alarmed by her daughter being alarmed by this.
She's like, what? They're just mice.
Yeah.
We have to practice.
And Woon is even like that. Woon's like, "Oh, we just, that's how we practice."
How else would you learn how to kill things?
And then she's like, "You guys killed mice? Tough." It's like, baby girl, your parents have killed people.
It's like everyone you know has killed somebody.
Like
a
lots
person.
of people.
Dude. Have you ever seen a mousetrap? No, we just point at them.
Bang.
That's kind of nice.
Anytime we see a mouse,
And Uncle Andy did that
Dead.
to like 10 people.
Yeah. Your sweet Uncle Andy, he killed a bunch of people.
In 10 minutes.
Poor Tia.
Yeah. Hilo and Shay.
at least there's fried bread
Yes.
to make
yes.
everything better.
Fried bread must be so fucking good. Like, it gets you over mice being killed. It gets you over.
Didn't we decide it was like French toast?
I mean, we're talking like somewhere in between like a funnel cake and
I do love
a
funnel cake.
donut.
Mhm.
Call it funnel cake from now on because that like resonates really strongly with
But
me.
they don't even have to wait for a fair. They have it ready. You can go to a store and get funnel cake anytime you want.
I'm imagining
thinking-
like slightly
I'm like,
fluffier churros.
Yeah, I'm in like a donut churro area.
That sounds good too.
I'm all in. I feel like we need to move to Janloon and get to this food scene. I'm on Barrow's
Why
side,
didn't
I
we
think.
say, okay, so we have to drink every time they drink. Why can't we eat
Oh my
fried
God.
bread every time they eat fried bread?
Yeah,
in this
this
story?
podcast is stupid.
What is it?
To get donuts specifically for whenever fried
Donuts
bread happens.
and
I
what's
fuck
the
with
D word
Krispy
for
Kreme.
books? Donuts and dialogue. Here we go. Spin-off podcast.
There we
did
go.
it.
Wow.
That's us. Next
Alliteration.
time Cross leaves, we're donuts and dialogue, and we will all bring a
Donuts
donut.
and dialogue. Donuts and discussion. Nah, dialogue's better.
Us.
If all of us show up with donuts next week instead of cocktails,
Let's do it.
let's do
honestly.
it
I'd
and
be
not
very,
tell
very
Cross.
happy. But not tell Crossland.
Yes, I'm down.
right. That'll be fun.
There's a drive-through Krispy Kreme by my house.
The
Like, I
bakery.
don't
I
have-
live
I
above a
I
have
bakery.
not
that
had
makes donuts.
Krispy. I haven't had Krispy Kreme in
I've never had Krispy Kreme.
almost 2
they literally
decades.
melt in your mouth.
They're so good.
We don't like.
I still remember they're so
We're
good.
pretty much just Dunkin' up here, which I said it. I put in the Discord the other day. The top Dunkin' ambassadors of all time: Ben Affleck number 1, but I'm number 2, and Big Poppy's number 3.
I just thought of a huge flaw in my plan.
What's that?
Cross will probably hear me say that before we record again.
He's not going to hear it.
He actually
Okay.
can't hear.
Oh, okay. Good.
No, I do the editing, and he's busy with family stuff. He's not going to hear it.
You mean he's stuck in a porta potty? All right.
Yes.
Let's go.
I mean, he's stuck in a porta potty.
Okay, so Hilo and Shay are sitting together talking about their kids over Hochi, which sort of pays off, when Hilo was sitting in his car just smoking out the window, thinking about sharing a bottle of
Smoking
Hochi.
out the window.
Thank you, Aaron. And just commiserating about their love lives. Now they're kind of, they're chopping it up. They're older, talking about kids.
It's nice that they have this brother-sister
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
I put that in, yeah. It is cool to see, they finally, it seems like earlier they got their groove back as Weatherman and Pillar, but now this is there's probably we've seen it before, but this is the first time it's really stands out that they have their groove back as siblings.
Or they have it for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, Shay finally, she snaps at Hilo for a second, and then she's like, oh wait, he is right. Immediately, instead of several minutes later, or just stewing on it.
And she can see that Hilo knows more than her about
Mhm.
parenting and can legit give advice.
He's a good dad.
Yeah. Even though he kills mice.
And men.
Of mice and men.
What's worse in Tia's eyes?
I feel like the mice. I feel like if you're soft but grow up in this category, in this family, you would think mice, right? Because they're innocent, and unless
Yeah.
she's completely useless, there has to be some understanding that people are trying to
Yeah,
kill
this
your
useless
siblings when
6-year-old
they try
can't
to
kill anybody.
completely.
Yeah.
I don't know the right word, but I'll stick with useless for the memes.
The useless 6-year-old.
Just grow up, kid. Grow up, dude.
That's what I used to say about Shay.
So I feel like we could have had an interesting discussion of the expansion into Shatar if these chapters were longer and we didn't have to put all 10 of them in this week. But obviously we see it was just not a good plan. I mean, it was a good plan, but it fucking did not work.
Aren't the Shatarians the
Yes.
really bad guys? Why do we want to be
No,
in Shatar
the-
at all?
The ones hovering over the series have been the Edatanians, but the Shatar is the mortal enemy that first invaded and occupied Tayton. If that's what you
Right.
meant by... Okay, my bad. I misunderstood what you meant by bad guys.
Yeah, they're the ultimate bad guys.
Yeah, they didn't even want to... There was hesitation to be on Aspenia's side because they're sided with the Shatarians against the Edatanians, I believe.
Yeah, this was just a bad idea. I mean, maybe it was a okay idea. Why we're sending very important people there.
Yeah, with 2 bodyguards, as we'll discuss.
That's probably something more I'll get into. I necessarily the plan going into Shotar seems like not a bad idea in their early on execution. I think just later on, for some reason, they got lax and it cost them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have been fine if Wen hadn't tried to strong arm using Hilo's like emotional state as like,
she
I don't know how he's going to react to this. Like she effectively threatened this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was.
And then trying to realize later how badly she threatened him because she was like,
yeah, that was
he
true.
was scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
But I think she would have been fine if she had just dropped it, especially considering like after the comment about having made a deal with the devil already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh shit, they're in the bed with
somebody.
the Barokans.
That should have been obvious. Like once they're like who's the devil in this country? What do you mean? You have to figure out like, oh, can we look into who has leverage on them? Honey.
Yeah. But we'll get into that when it happens.
Yes. We're just very passionate. So Hilo and Hami have reservations about getting into Shatar. I feel like I misplaced that note. And then we also did like a discussion of how Hilo doesn't necessarily like go around Shay, but he will if there's something that a member of the Weatherman's office has a specific expertise in, he will directly consult with them and not go to Shay on those issues.
I thought that sounded like Hilo. Like, I don't know, he's thorough and like he knows what he doesn't know, and so I think him going around her isn't necessarily like he doesn't believe her, but I think he is like, doing some double checking. Like ultimately the buck stops with him, so
yeah.
Right. Not necessarily intended as personally as Shay took it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's thinking about it set up like a corporate structure. The CEO is still going to have an understanding, maybe more casual, but like, or high level understanding of the financials of the company. But that's not a slight against the CFO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also might just be like, I'm sure at times it's literally just he has a question about a realm of business that Shay just doesn't know a lot about, so he just goes directly to that person rather than being like, hey, can you ask them for me?
Mm-hmm.
Also, just to clean this up, last week when we were talking about the merger at the end of, I forget what I think it was chapter 35 or 34, I said that No Peak absorbed the Blacktail clan, which I don't believe any of us taught, and they actually absorbed the Joe Sun clan, so I just wanted to correct that.
Wow.
Yeah, we're done.
Glad we got that right.
It's so brave of you for owning up to the mistake and publicly announcing that you're sorry.
Players fuck up sometimes, and, we got to own up to it. Fall down 9, get up 10. We also learned that it seems like genuine, or at least as genuine as it can get, peace has existed between the Mountain and No Peak clan for the last 6 years.
Right. Yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And it makes sense. I mean, Shay saved Ide's life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's pretty much no reason to fight on the streets of at least Janloon anymore. It seems like everywhere else,
especially
it's just been a stalemate.
And they've been like started working together with the clanless against the clanless. So,
I think they can be friends.
I hope so.
Ide's getting pretty old, though, right? I mean,
she's got
she's like
if our heroes 60s, are like, yeah.
And listen,
and she's
Jade Warriors, when they lose their fastball, it's gone.
And she's been beat up.
Well, the thing is, though, Ide's probably the only thing that's keeping peace, because like if Ide Otto gets into power, he's going to start flashing that shit around. They're going to be more antagonistic to No Peak at that point.
Can I ask a question based off that, a spin-off question?
Yeah.
Do you have any worries about anyone in the Mountain Clan besides Aitmata, though?
No, that's what I'm
like. I'm just like
they're
let it happen.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let Otto take over and start a war. Who cares? It'll be over in a week.
Yeah, like the Kobans, they're not like strategic enough, I don't feel like. So they would deliver blows to No Peak, I think, and they would be effective in that way, but they would also make a mistake in a way that No Peak could take advantage of, I feel like. That Aitmata won't make.
But the second it were to spill into an actual war, like it's just No Peak wins. Like they'll lose the war of words for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I still feel like with these time jumps, the resolution between, and maybe there's still time for a payoff in some way, but the fact that it's just kind of been 6 years of not war is the what came of Shay sparing Ite feels anticlimactic. Like I would have loved to have seen
Like an
some
alliance?
sort of scene. Not necessarily. Like even if the same thing happened, but some scene a couple months later of them like coming together and talking.
Or even like
something.
Hey, it was cool when you did that.
even like Aitmata saving Shay back. Like maybe that's what she'll do with this Shatarian bullshit.
Or her getting word that there's some clanless future thing that's only going to affect No Peak and would be a boon to the Mountain Clan, effectively. And like putting a stop to it.
Aaron, what did you say?
Even though it's outside of her jurisdiction and outside of her effect. Like something like that could have been really cool to see.
I said maybe Aitmata will be the one to save Shay's life from the Shatarian bullshit.
There we go.
She'll pay her back.
Would you like to make
Ooh,
that a
that'd
bet?
be good. I like that.
I really like that idea.
Oh, you all
I'd
like
bet on that.
Well, you all like the idea. Now I don't want to bet it. Wow, okay. Let's do it, though. I will.
I have great ideas.
All right. Bet. All three of you think Aitmata.
Steps in,
Pays.
saves Shay.
I'll bet a whole fucking donut on it.
Just you have to eat it. So the loser eats an entire donut, like
God,
immediately, like a
That's
shot
a bet
version
I'd
of a
love to
donut.
lose.
Wait, if you win, you can't eat your donut?
that's torturous
So,
right there. You just have to look at it the entire podcast.
I wouldn't be. I would accidentally eat the donut. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And Cross is going to
By-
be left out on paying back.
By saving
So-
Shay or by like giving No Peak intel. Like, what are we thinking?
I think she'll
she's-
be critical to the of Shay and or Wen. I think Shay specifically, because Wen is quick to. Wen's getting recovered just through money and Jade, which is already on its way.
Yeah, I don't see
So
her
Shay's
like,
going to be the one.
personally showing up and like busting Shay out, but
Right. Yeah, I didn't mean that either.
yeah,
I just meant like, does she send mountain agents
right.
in or what?
Yeah, I think she steps in,
Or
offers some
even just
assistance.
like critical information, something like that.
Okay. Cool. That little side tangent out of there brings us to Jaya's arrest. So I have kind of some bracketed out bullets here. Jaya's antics. Defending her friend. Very good. Excellent even. Partying, I think made sense given, night after pre-trials. I think that's mentioned as like pretty traditional. And she's a teenager. Teenagers be partying. Bringing the hidden Jade out. Just dumb.
Yeah, that was bad.
Breaking rules.
I
that
remember
could get you
thinking-
kicked out of the
And
academy.
killed.
I remember thinking back during Andon's time at the academy when they were talking about having these training bands that there didn't seem to be much emphasis on the security around these Jade bands. And that's coming back to bite.
Like
But
they're not.
I wonder how
checking the
many
kids.
students do this.
Yeah, it definitely seems like things have gotten much more lax at Haldu Academy since Andon was there. Like I can't imagine
Yeah, but
even the winking at classmates and like blowing kisses would have
Well, maybe
flown.
Jaya gets away with more
Hmm.
because of who she is.
Good point.
I also wonder if third place would have gotten as big of a cheer in Andon's class.
Well, I think it
As
was
it
just
did
from the
here.
family that was super pumped up.
Yeah, that's fair. Good point.
And then Jaya, over the course of this discussion, reveals she's got some plans for the future that apparently her and her father have not talked about, despite the fact that she's graduating in a month ish. So we learned everyone.
Call's busy.
He is busy. She should have brought it up maybe. Everyone trying to court her, thinking their son could be Pillar. Guys, I don't know the year, but it's year 22. It's the 22nd year, the 10th month or whatever. Guys, let's grow up. Maybe she can be Pillar.
Yeah.
And
that's got to be so much
I don't know what
pressure.
that attitude though.
I know. So that was my question. Like, why isn't Jaya being thought of as a future pillar? Aitmata obviously has been pillar for like 30-ish years at this point, or 25-ish. Is it just Hilo who isn't thinking about her this way? Is it her vibe? Maybe people are thinking about it, but just we haven't learned that.
I think it's
I
still
think on the part of
sexism.
Hilo,
Mhm.
I think it's not even sexism. I think it's thinking about your own mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he doesn't probably think of himself as old at this point, and
Because he's not really.
doesn't, and he's not, and he's not unhealthy, and he's not going to age out at any point, like soon. So I think it's just not really a consideration for like who's going to take my place as pillar at front of mind for him, but it is for the media.
Yeah.
And it is for like probably a lot of the Lantern Men and like the clan.
Probably for literally
in general.
everybody besides him.
Right. So I don't think it really has anything to do with her being a woman. I think it's just he doesn't feel like he's that close to biting the dust or resigning.
Mhm. And also,
Which, I mean, naive or short-sighted, maybe.
I'm recalling it somewhere in the book though when they talk about the fact that Ait's a woman. It is like, well, that's just her. Like a clan leader is a man, basically. Did I make that up? That's like weeks ago, but
I feel like there's something to that effect, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a conversation or what, but I do think it was basically like Ait is
And,
just
like, most-
extraordinary.
yeah, most of the green
Oh.
ones are still all men.
Is it when now Suen is telling Shay about how Ait took power? Maybe Suen's in.
Maybe something like that.
Anyway, I think also part of it for Hilo at least is he just thinks Jaya says what she wants and says what she means, and so the fact that she hasn't been like, I want to be Horn, I want to be Pillar someday, he probably doesn't think it's even on her radar, which again is naive.
I think too they're not talking that much.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
She's away at school. He's busy running the clan. You know?
Yeah. There's
There's a lot of drama with her brothers.
yeah, there's the insinuation from Wen that she acts out to get Hilo's attention.
Right.
I think additionally how quickly he turns around and says like, all right, you're going to reach out to the fists. You're going to specifically reach out to the women in the clan, and
Smart.
like how quickly that shifts. I feel like in my head backs up the idea that like he just wasn't thinking about it and is okay with the idea. But maybe he's uncomfortable with her being in violent situations because he has firsthand experience in how horrible they can be and how violent they can be, and doesn't want to subject his daughter to it. But the fact that it's not like a no, fuck you, go away, and then maybe a couple weeks later he reapproaches this, it seems like he's okay with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
I mean, she went to the academy. What do you think she was going to do?
Apparently he thought she
But
would just go to
everybody
college
does.
and then go become a weather person.
This whole chapter like really made me like Jaya a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was just like, a lot of like, she does some stupid stuff and she's a little flippant, but like, okay, I like the way that she's kind of like calling out like, yeah, I stabbed this rapey guy. And everyone else is like, this is causing a problem for the clan. She's like, well, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You know? And I kind of like that attitude, and that like how that kind of made everybody snap to a little bit.
I really like that at the end, especially. I think that's when it really comes into focus, when even the victim's family is like, we're so sorry for the inconvenience, you've done enough, and like snapping at her, and the girl and Jaya have such a strong connection that they would have just like stood there, and she's like, I'd fucking do it again.
Right. Exactly. I love that. I thought that was great. And just like how she gets everybody to stop and like actually realistically think about it. Like instead of being like, oh, this is causing problems for the clan, now we're gonna have to make it up to his family. It's like, no, you don't have to make it up to that rapey boy's family. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, of course you don't. So I love that. And then I liked her just like saying what she wanted. And then I agree with PJ. Like the way that Hilo responded to that was really cool. And him just being like, okay, yeah, that we can do that. We can roll that way. Like never, he is kind of like, I give him a lot of credit because, you know, obviously he was like kind of stuck in an old style of thinking where it's like.
This is also like third child. He's like.
And he wants to protect her. Right.
Well, I think after Nico's going off the rails, I think Hilo's trying to like do it right this time. He's like, okay, I'm going to give her space, let her like become her own person, send her away, not as punishment, but as like a way for her to not feel.
And he's always kind of coddled her, it sounds like. So like he wants to protect her. So like not having her go into the greener side of the clan. And just like knowing that that's going to be a harder situation for her, not impossible or anything, but just like more resistance. I thought it was cool. And then he kind of like flips it on its head and he's like, okay, well, we're going to do this and let's do it the right way. And like, this is what you need to do.
But also only if you're perfect for the rest of the school year.
Yeah. Stop going to parties and fucking dudes.
And is 4 studs of Jade the most, or was that the second? Was it 5 that was the most? Like
I think it was 4,
first in class, was that 5 pieces or was that 4 pieces?
I think
I don't
right,
remember.
4. Yeah.
Because he was saying that this is only on the table if she gets 4 pieces of Jade at graduation. Yeah. So I didn't know if that meant like first in your class or if that meant
I think
the first like
the winner of the pre-trials and then the winner of the trials get extra Jade, and then I don't remember if that's like those 2 get 5 or those 2 get 4. But I feel like
those 2 get extra.
I feel like asking her to,
but I feel like it was 1, 2, and 3 studs, and then the extra allotment.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like asking her to be like finish first in your class with a month to go is kind of a big ask, but I don't know. But yeah, I really liked how the chapter ended with the Nayu family coming and just like bringing everything back into perspective that Jai is a fucking hero for what she did. And I think Hilo, who was described as bewildered, like I think that is him getting that, and just, like he's gonna come around and be proud of her like we would have assumed he'd be. I think he's just like it's finally hitting him. And then especially at the end when Hana's father says, "Call Jen." And he's like, the guy's trembling with emotion. "Call Jen. Not only are you the pillar, but you're managing to raise children who are as green and good-hearted as you are. Looking at you, I feel humbled as a father. I feel like that's the ultimate dad-to-dad compliment that could be given."
Yes.
Yeah.
And also just like funny because we've seen these kids kind of grow up and the headaches they've been, and Nico literally abandoning the family to be a mercenary. He still did something right.
Well, the guy's, obviously super grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sweet.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed how it ended. Chapter 41, Second Chance. A quick, intense, violent chapter here, as we open with Remy bestowing several of his snakeheads with Jade promoting them to become vipers. One of these men is Mate Tar, who receives his Jade and proceeds to take out Remy and several other members of the gang, before spilling the beans on the entire operation to the Ismenian police. So, obviously here we get a lot of payoff from Chapter 36, and the chapter titles are also very similar, with Chapter 36 being A Fresh Start, and Chapter 41 being Second Chance.
This is one where I air punched. Huzzah!
And fired up.
I don't know why, but there was something about the vibe of this chapter immediately where I was like, oh shit. Tar
it's going down.
He's going to kill this motherfucker.
On the reread, I definitely overhyped this. I was like, I thought he killed everybody, and then, like, I don't know. But it's still very epic.
I mean, he brutalizes a lot. Like, he does a lot of shit. But just the immediacy of putting on Jade and grabbing John Remy's throat.
No, he punches through it with his fingers.
That's what it was.
Yep. Trachea. Yep. Immediately, too. It's
just,
it's kind of funny. Just like the second he gets it bad, he's like, all right.
It's sick.
For the listeners.
I was so excited when it happened that I was like, yeah. And then I had to go back and reread it because I got so distracted by how excited I was
Love that.
after the throat punch.
This is why you're the best.
Felt good.
So yeah.
Felt good to see him really make good for No Peak again.
Yeah, he's one of the best violent men to ever do it. So to see him in his field just doing good work, love it. Again, I feel like we can't brush over this chapter. We can get it out pretty quick because it pairs so well with the next one. Tar just tells the cops everything immediately. Hilo's like, wait for your lawyer to be there. Tar says, I will not be doing that, sir. Tells them literally anything that could possibly be interesting about the snakeheads. And then Tori's like, yeah, we'll probably be able to cut your sentence down a little bit. All our leverage is gone. We'll probably get you 10 years. Hilo might break you out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which, Tar's like, I like the sound of that, however, would not be good. And then we see Tori still actually genuinely soft here. And he has to try to hide his horror that Andon spoke to Tar about this. And I don't know.
It's old country business. Corey, you wouldn't understand.
You want to understand.
Old country shit.
Yeah. He did it for death of consequence. Which is just like, how has
What was the
Tori's like fucking 40 years old. You don't know what a death of consequence is? Come on, my dude.
And your dad was like from the old, like,
and like
shouldn't
huge
he
on
know
it.
all these things?
Yeah, just
what was the technical definition of death of consequence against? Like, I remember
It's like what Hilo
it's
did.
been a
against-
long time since we've seen one.
It's like what Hilo did against all of Gaunt Ash's men. It's instead of a clean
Right, but
blade,
that's a
which is
formal
one-on-one.
thing. This feels not the same as that.
I think it's just the
It's just like
closest
a
he could
mob.
get.
It's one against a mob. Is like death of consequence.
Yeah, I think
But
he just meant.
Tar
I
just
think
didn't die.
yeah, and I think he just was like he wanted his death to matter. It's sort of like
Gotcha.
how we would take it, not the formalized version of it. That's how I interpreted it.
So it's like maybe Tar getting shot more during that fight and dying during that fight was what he actually wanted. Because then he had to kill himself later. Which I feel like...
I don't know. He jumped out the window, though. And then...
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, he was like running
I think he
away.
would've
That
just-
might
yeah.
be instincts. And then he did fuck the clans over, or the crew over even more by
Mhm.
giving away
Yeah,
all
he
their secrets.
fully eradicated them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like the closest he could get, more so than like the actual formalized, because there's no one. Yeah. But speaking of death of consequence, that brings us to chapter 42, I think.
It's called Death of Consequence.
Thank you. We cut back to 18 months earlier when Andon approached Tar to ask him to do the job. We learn about how Tar had been living in Ispenia for the years since his exile, before turning back to the present, where we get a drop on what happened in Restville and the Chispenian Greenbone community as a whole, following Tar's murder of Remy. We also learn that Tar killed himself in jail while waiting trial, and end very sadly at Tar's secret funeral back in Kacon. Okay, so a lot going on in this chapter. Before we all jump in, my number one note, with a bullet, the very first thing I have to talk about. Tar's in a book club. At least he was when Andon comes to visit him.
I loved it.
I was so fucking shocked, and I also loved it.
We're in a book club.
We are.
Yeah,
but
would we
we're not-
allow,
we
would
are
we
in the book
allow
club.
Tar in our book club?
We would have allowed Ken in the book club. I feel like we could say Arcane.
Tar might get a little dark.
I feel like Tar would be allowed until it was his turn to pick the book, and then he picked something just like crazy.
He would
and
pick
we're
Dark
like, oh
Age.
my god. He'd be like, I really enjoyed the parts where the poles were going up butts and faces were melted,
And people were being tortured.
and that there was no time for honor. It's a deep cut. Made everyone mad.
No time, no honor. Or no honor, no time?
Yep.
That's the way.
That's the way. But yeah.
This is the way.
So Tar, when Andon approaches him, he seems to be doing like as well as could possibly be expected, all things considered.
I think it's sweet that he's
Definitely.
mowing his lawn.
Mm-hmm. He's a private eye, it seems
I
like.
feel like Andon really, Gave him a
Pretty
death
heartless.
sentence.
Yeah.
He could have lived out his last days in peace.
Yeah, there's
mowing
a
his
certain
lawn.
irony and tragedy of Andon, of all people, being the one to bring him back into this world.
I really but like thought it was heartbreaking, like how Tar was just like hanging on every word of what Andon was saying and just like hoping that he would hear like Hilo wants you back, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
And Andon's
like-
like, Hilo doesn't know I'm here.
and there's like multiple times where he's like, oh.
There was also like, I know there's no way I could come back
Yeah. Just like
unless.
Sad boy
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah, poor Tar. This is, hey, if only we had gotten him in therapy after Kane. It is also like how effective the writing is that he massacred and destroyed and decimated his fiance, and we feel bad for him in this moment, or like maybe not feel bad for him, but like we feel for him, and like it makes you want him to be redeemed.
Yeah. Just because he
totally.
has had a psychotic break doesn't mean he's not worth empathy and sympathy and forgiveness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always only ever doing what Hilo wanted. So really, Hilo's the one who fucked him
Well,
up.
except for the psychotic, except for when he killed his fiance.
Well, that was the result of all the torturing. But yeah, I agree. It's, you know, we see him through Hilo's eyes as a beloved brother.
Just sad. Do we think Andon made the right call?
Yes. Andon's kind of a gangster.
Yes,
now.
and no.
He
I mean,
is a gangster.
Yeah.
he did like, you know,
Andon
Well,
for Pillar
Tar-
2024?
I know. I feel like he's like developing.
don't you have to be a warrior to be a pillar?
He's like developing.
It was the
a-
weatherman.
Kind of a killer outlook.
Killer Andy.
There's a bit that really shows Tar's growth and how he's learned when he asked Andon if Remy deserves to die.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the text on the page does a pretty good job discussing that for us. So we don't
Mhm.
necessarily need to go into it in tons of depth. But I did think it was interesting how like he seems almost to be using that question to judge Andon and to see if it's a worthwhile to do it for Andon. If that made sense, like because like if Andon just gave him the canned response or lied to him, would he have done it? I guess is the implication.
To me, it seemed like Tar had some morality. Like he had probably considered all the people he'd killed in the past, and he was like, I don't want to kill someone who doesn't deserve to die again, like his fiance.
And he probably hadn't killed since he'd been exiled.
Right. So to me, it was more a question of like,
Genuine.
will the gods frown on this? Like, does this person deserve to die?
I also wonder if there's like for him specifically, a rage and like a bloodlust associated with him wearing Jade. And this amount of time without it has quelled that. And he's able to think more clearly and be more decisive. But I think more than anything, it's just the ability to reflect on all the bloodshed that's on his hands, and specifically his fiance and what got him exiled to begin with. A lot of guilt and weight in that killing. He doesn't want to go through that again.
Given how the chapter ends, and I feel like it kind of ties up a lot of the Aspenia stuff in a neat little bow for us, do you think we see Aspenia again? And if so, what role does it play going forward?
I think we'll be back there.
At least with Corey, I don't know.
He
might need to lawyer something.
Actually, maybe not. I don't know. What else is going on there now? Like, is
I gotta say,
going to go back
I do
there?
not remember at all. So this isn't me like intentionally misleading you or anything.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
I think, yeah.
I
this
don't want to
might
make any
be
bets.
Kind of the end of the storyline there. I think that's kind of a good point.
I mean, there's still like
Maybe some
the
medical
idea
stuff.
of Jade becoming more legalized.
And Nico is employed by an Aspenian mercenary company.
Right.
It just feels like a lot of
But in
what
general,
drew us there initially, or like the opening storylines, like Andon's storyline, at least in Espenia, besides the medical Jade stuff, kind of feels wrapped up. But we'll have to read and find out, I guess.
Now it's on to Shatar.
And then this chapter ends just like really sad, and then we get to just 3 really dark chapters after this. But just Tar's funeral, which it's sad they like smuggle his body back in, is how the vibe I get from it. They're like, don't tell anybody about the funeral, only the higher ups know.
Yeah, him completing suicide too was surprising. Like, I guess he was resigned that he didn't want Hilo to like get in trouble for breaking him out of jail, and he was like, he felt, I don't know, I guess he felt he deserved to die since he broke the no Jade ever again terms. But it was
and he probably
a sad
knew,
way
like,
to see Targo.
Yeah, it was sad. Kind of like belated. And they describe it that way, I think, too, as like a belated end to a tragedy.
And yeah, a long delayed end to a tragedy. But the extra sad part of it is when and Hilo and the kids hadn't talked to Uncle Tar that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's this like long estranged brother, uncle, who then you're burying. So it makes it extra like full of regrets.
And also, like, it's strange, not by choice, because they all loved him still. They just kind of they weren't able to talk to him.
Yeah.
How old were they?
The kids?
When he was exiled?
I don't want to do math, PJ. You know what I mean?
They were old
like,
enough to be influenced by him telling stories. I mean, they were old enough to know. It's not like they wouldn't remember him.
Right. He very significantly influenced their disposition in life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the worse, I would argue, but still.
But Hilo buries Tar at the family funeral plot despite everything he's done. That makes sense. And it's just so sad for Hilo staring there with Lon Kane and Tar, Gwen weeping, tears streaming down her face. Andon comes up to apologize, and Andon just Hilo understands why Andon did it. And this is just the ending of this, which, if you have the Kindle version, is highlighted as like a community highlight, because people highlight this all the time, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I was angry at you for a long time after you refused to wear Jade. Of course you remember. Now, though, I'm thankful you're not a fist, Andy. Hilo's voice faltered. I need one of my brothers to live. And it's just pain
Tough
in my heart.
Got me.
And then right after this, his sister gets taken.
Yeah. But before we get there,
how often does Hilo refer to Andon as his brother? Straight up.
He's always used it interchangeably, I feel like. But he's always...
Between brother and cousin.
Yeah. But since the beginning...
This felt more formal and like definitive.
I think maybe like bringing it back to like definitive, I guess. Mm-hmm. But when we first meet him, he's definitely like considers him a brother.
Okay.
He calls him Andy. You know what I mean? Nobody else does. And I remember bringing it up because it's specifically described in the first book as like Hilo is a true brother to Andon, or like Hilo believes Andon's his brother, and Lon views him as a nephew.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it kind of feels sort of like the belated him and Shay getting their groove back for the first time as brother and sister. Like, this is him, you know, like not being like, Andon's my useful cousin, my useful blah blah. Like, Andon's my brother again here. So I do get what you're saying, PJ. Damn, I'm just sad now. Don't want to do this anymore. This is what it's like. It's tough when it's just me. I just gotta soldier on.
You're doing great.
Speaking of soldiering on, chapter 43, Freedom. Also, just like, this is such a cruel name for this chapter. Nico and Taji Ino, one of No Peak spies / Nico protectors in GSI, accidentally commit a war crime in a proxy war in Udain. After killing civilians, likely due to bad intel, Nico attempts to follow the outlined procedures, but is prevented from doing so after a tense exchange with his Espenian squad mates. So, don't want to beat around the bush. Super tough chapter here, kicking off a tough ending for our week.
Really bad.
Tense exchange?
Listen.
Is the way this is described?
I think it is. It's possible murder about to happen.
I mean, you're right.
Pretty tense.
It's true. It's more than that.
It is more than that.
I think.
But I mean, it's a difficult chapter, so I wanted to be a little light with this summary. I accidental war crime.
No, you're totally within your rights to do that. That makes sense. I just had to drill into that very tense exchange is doing a lot of heavy lifting for describing what happens at the end of this chapter.
Intensely tense exchange. How about that?
There we go. That totally
staggeringly.
Quite fucked up exchanged.
Yeah. It is. It's almost okay. I was picturing tense, but what I meant by tense was like Wind River when they go to the trailer. Tense. Just to set the scene for everybody out there who's seen Wind River.
I don't know what that is.
Ben knows what I'm talking about.
Out of the loop.
What'd you say, sir?
Wind River.
Oh,
the
Wind
trailer
River.
without the trailer and Wind River. That's what I was picturing. Are you flanking me? That's what I meant by tense, everybody.
If you haven't seen that movie, by the way, that's one of the best shootouts ever. I love that
It's fucking
shootout.
a great movie. Anyway, Nico, a little homesick, huddled in the snow with his rifle. Imagine being warm back home in Janloon, freezing his ass off. Overall, though, enjoying the anonymity of basically just being a soldier and enjoying just being one of the guys.
That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young soldier, basically. But
like I said earlier,
seems
I think
like
he's sucking and fucking. What are you saying, PJ? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it seems like he's really happy with his anonymity. He's eating the same shitty food and getting the same shitty assignments, but he's happy about that because there's no expectation of him. There's no call name to live up to. And it's nice to see that perspective because it's not sugar-coated and he recognizes that things are not great, but they're exactly what he was looking for.
Mm-hmm. And there are echoes of that sentiment from the Jaya's chapter and from Rue, too, where, like, Jaya, she's so rational. Like, people aren't going to duel me. People aren't going to, like, I'm not going to get expelled from school. I'm a tall. And Rue kind of has, like, people don't necessarily want to invite him to things because they think he has better versions of it already waiting for him, like the movie premiere thing that is mentioned. So it's just like, it's not just the benefits of being a tall, and it's not just like the pressure of being a tall. There's a weird social alienation too, because they're like royals.
Right. Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, I think these experiences will be good for Nico and Rue to be treated like normal humans.
So I know our guy Jim Sunto, he's got a quota to meet. He's got to fill his ranks. I don't love his plan of getting all of these groups with historical and hatreds of one another and putting them together without any sort of supervision. Like we've got the various Tetanese and Teto-Espenian, Teto-Shatarians together. They don't talk apparently, and the Espenians just group them all together. And like they have different ways of using Jade and like what's the plan there, Jim?
Maybe I'm naive or giving him the benefit of the doubt a little bit too much, but it seems more like they've all gone through the same training. They all have the same goals. They all have come up together within the system. And regardless of their background, they should idealistically act similarly or act as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
despite their differences in background. That's a lot more difficult to wrestle with in reality, but maybe that's the idea. Like, I don't think it's malicious, and I don't think it's racist or like intentional. Like, just throw all the Kekkonese together.
No, I took it. It just meant like it seems like a pressure cooker, and like things should go pretty wrong pretty quick.
That's fair.
Especially
Totally.
like, they're all armed with Jade. You know those non-Kekkonese are hitting that SN2.
Yep. Powder keg about to explode. Also from Hamilton. Okay.
We also get an anecdote about Vin Somu, who can apparently just snipe things with his eyes closed from 200 meters away. That's cool. I like to hear that.
That was pretty cool.
It's pretty sick.
Unfortunately, Nito doesn't have those same skills, so he trying to shoot out the tire or something. And so Nito bum rushes a truck, which before we knew how it ends, I gotta say, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's like a deer.
Just crashes into a truck, flips over it. His buddy.
This is
out,
like
boom.
the first time we see him not super hesitating, you know?
Mm-hmm. And like being good at shit.
Like not overthinking it and then missing the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
That's a great point.
If there was any time to miss the moment.
Yeah.
But if I can just like step back a little bit about the perception thing. No, nothing to apologize for. So I felt like for whatever reason in Jade City, the use of the term, like, did you perceive that as like another sense, felt heavy-handed, and maybe it was because I wasn't used to it, or maybe Fonda has evolved as a writer. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it side by side, but I remember feeling that during Jade City. But here, like with the addition of the like hand motion of like touching the temple or the head and like making it really, really feel like an additional sense in a physical way, in a real way. It, for whatever reason, it like felt more natural here than it did in the past.
Is it?
And I was really happy with the way that came across.
The ones that I remember, it's mostly like people ask if you receive things and it becomes almost like a horror movie after that. I think it's usually like when Now Suinzin's about to roll up is when it happens.
That could be.
And so maybe that's why I felt
descending.
Because that's the two times I remember is when he rolls up to the nightclub and then when he rolls up to stop Shay's business dealings with the Satan's Unity clan.
Yeah, it could be. But I feel like there were less important instances of it in the first book as well.
Most likely.
But I can't recall off the top of my head what they were about.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. And like the hand motions of it all. Ultimately, it leads to the accidental killing of civilians, including children, which, as they say in Mad Men, not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. Good.
And
yeah,
it's just
pretty fucking sad. So was everyone in the car killed from the gunfire, not from the car wreck?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah, because the car wreck, he just like hit it and then spun it around. So it was just like spitting down the road.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. So it didn't like impact anything.
As if they hit a deer.
Yeah. So they were maybe injured, but definitely not dead. And then they shot everybody immediately.
Those fucking spennies spraying and praying. We also, I think, we knew because of the way Skinny Reams was throwing it around, but I feel like we got confirmation that Cat is definitely a slur because the one guy apologizes for saying it.
Yeah. Didn't mean to call you a cat.
Because they're like, they're not as bigoted as the other ones, as the other Spinians. He freaks out.
When he said that, I was like, Thomas has been vindicated. Not vindicated, but, someone agreed with you.
Yeah. It was also like, there was a subtle threat of murder, but I'm sorry for using a slur, man. That was out of line.
Yeah. We did reach for our weapons, but only if you weren't going to comply.
this whole scene so vividly feels just ready for adaptation as it is.
Did you guys want Nito to just kill them?
No.
No,
I don't think he could
that's not
have.
his arc.
I wanted so badly for the like healing channeling to do something more, like to actually make a difference. Even man, given the weight of the situation where they fucked up clearly and shot upon civilians, the way that my brain was going was Nico was going to channel positively into the little girl, save her, and then one of the other goons was going to shoot her and bring them away so there were no survivors. That's where my brain was going in the moment.
I mean, I could see that for sure. It's very dark though, PJ. It's very dark.
It is dark. No,
it's still dark anyway.
It is.
Without that, it's still dark.
It is, but that's even darker.
I think it shows that, like, even though these are people with Jade, they're not seasoned warriors. They're like on, the third string duty or whatever. They're the people out in the middle of nowhere just trying to stop a car. So I think with more experiences like this, Nico will, long for the clan where there's like a leader with each group or whatever. I don't know. I think it'll make Nico have a bad taste in his mouth.
Falston and Hitch were Aspenian military, right? They were Navy Angels. And Taiji was the equivalent in Tayton.
Right.
So they're not nobodies.
It just seemed like...
It seemed very like, military contractor.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is what they are, obviously.
Yeah.
Like they can... Yeah. It was just trying to... there's all the fucked up things. Like, if we report this, we're going to get fried. No one's going to protect us. And then... But yeah, he's clearly... Like, just because these people wear Jade, there's no Aisha, there's no honor. It's just utilitarian with them.
Built different.
Yeah. And also, like, I thought it was significant him being, for all of his dislike, I don't know, like his turmoil about some of the stuff the clans do, him being like, if this guy spoke to me like this in Dayton, he'd be dead.
So some entitlement.
Like, several times he thinks about that. He kind of misses it, I felt like. That he wishes he could kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chapter ends with Nico feeling the eyes of the gods upon him. We get the story of how he asked Auntie Shay, why do you believe in the gods? And saying, because I felt them watching me. And Nico, at the time, he's a rational little creep. He's like weird.
Feels like that's his guilt talking to him about the situation.
Now at last he understood her answer. With each step he took in the snow, Nico sank beneath the feeling of some terrible attention turning toward him, reaching from the other side of the world like a curse. So maybe don't kill little girls.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 44. This is not Tayton. The 22nd year, 4th month. Another little time jump here. Shay and Wen head to Shatar for business. With Shay checking in on the local weatherman's office and Wen negotiating with the Shatarian film company, hoping to get burgeoning international superstar Danny Sinjo out of his contract. They also mix in a bit of pleasure, enjoying dinner and a show together before heading back to their hotel, escorted by Wen's bodyguards. After being stopped by a local cop in a furious fight, Wen, Shay, and the bodyguards are captured, and their captors put a call into Hilo with their demands. So the chapter opens, and at first, we get some much-needed fun. Wen thinks about her kids, Jaya's a finger in Toshan, Rue's in college, Nico a mercenary, just guts. Wen, obviously. But Shay and Wen, they're on a trip together, and Wen and Tia are bonding over dresses, things like that. Both, it seems like, Wen unable to kind of bond with her daughter to some extent, and Shay has a similar kind of thing. They're just so different. But then we get them on the plane, and there's a very fun bit, which Aaron would like this kind of cocktail, I guess, next week. Lychee, which I had never heard of.
A lychee martini?
No.
I have. They're very good.
Okay.
The lychee looks like a little, like, when it's in your martini glass, at least.
What is the lychee?
It's a fruit,
Oh, okay.
but it looks like a jellyfish or something.
Interesting.
See, Ben and I are man of the people. We don't know what a lychee is.
Well, when I lived in New York, there was this place where my roommate and I would always go get their lychee martinis when they had a happy hour because it was
Aaron,
expensive.
say bagel.
Bagel?
Okay.
Bagel.
I'm not PJ.
No, it's just a
Bagel.
it's just a community
Bagel.
bit because Bretta's always like, I lived in New York, and then says bagel weird. Anyway, so they're on their plane, and Shay's like, "Is it too early for cocktails?" And Wen says, "Shay-Jen, I would never gainsay the weatherman's judgment." I just loved that. That was very fun.
Mhm.
Cute.
Let's go, girls.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's not go to Shatar by ourselves, girls.
With 2 bodyguards, girls.
I would call for a community drink if I was not out of
Drink.
the variety of drinks that I had in front of me earlier.
Ben's drinking for us.
Drink for 4.
There's just a serious lack of bodyguards on this trip.
Especially because we learned they have fingers in the country.
Right.
They have the police.
I mean,
on
you
their
got to be
payroll, kind
rolling
of.
at least like 4 or 5 green dogs
Also,
deep.
if you're
I
in the
want
middle of nowhere
dudes
and
on
a cop
deck.
pulls you over for no reason, maybe
Keep
keep driving until
Yeah.
you get to a like
Okay.
safer location.
Let's
And that's
hold
all
it for a
Shay's.
second.
That's all Shay's fault.
We
I
gotta
got that.
table
We're
it.
gonna get it. We gotta handle some other things first. I'm sorry, guys. So No Peach is using spies and white rats to kind of give intel to the police, to use the police as like a private army almost in Shatar to stake out a little claim in the country, gain a foothold. I thought that was super interesting given how the mountain, dominates the underground, the criminal underworld of all these countries, and that's how they get into their various outreach offices. And like, instead of trying to play that game like they did in Restville, they're like, let's go with the cops on this one.
Doesn't work in Shatar.
Nope. Well, not this specific time.
No. It was working, but ultimately no. Then we get Wen negotiating with the film industry dude. Kind of interesting. I felt like, and this might just be because I knew what was coming, it went on too long. So I'm just curious if it felt like it was lingering a little bit for you guys, or if that's just
She
because I
did
knew
just
what was
like-
coming.
I felt like she
Wouldn't
was.
give it up.
Yeah, I was like, he said no, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like she was fighting too hard for it.
Well, and he was just like very obviously like, I really can't consider this. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like,
It's like on Shark Tank. I'm sorry, I have other investors
Mhm.
that need to decide.
Yeah, she was like truly that last little bit fucked them so hard. That was the problem.
yeah.
Her trying too hard to be
Hilo.
the deal maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got a little too like into
The
it.
gangster part of it.
Yeah. And she has like combined with like her passion for
Mm-hmm.
this idea and her wanting it to work.
Yeah, which goes a long way to explaining why she wouldn't say no, of course.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like usually, maybe because she's so passionate about this, she wasn't clear-headed. I feel like normally she wouldn't have gone the route of the Shatarians think we're thugs, let's lean into it. She would have gone with like, let's do the opposite and show him how pleasant and civilized we are. And like try to charm him, not
Right.
threaten him.
Yeah. That's not usually her play. Her play is charming and just like showing reason and that kind of thing. Like reasonably talking people into it. But like the threats, we've never really seen her lay down threats except for like right before she was about to die. She's like, do you know who my husband is? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that obviously gets us to what we really want to talk about, the abduction. So there's the car ride before they get stopped and kidnapped, where they discuss some of Wen's dedication to the film industry and how much Shay admires her. At least Shay thinks about that. And Wen has the line about how many in the clan would say that her only real duty hadn't been fulfilled, and it was basically to give the clan an heir.
I kind of read that as she had already fulfilled her only duty, which was to produce an heir.
I think she says many in the clan would say that she hadn't.
Oh,
Right.
But
now that Nico has left,
Ruza Stone Eye.
Hey,
and Ruza Stone Eye,
if everyone weren't
and
so
Jaya
sexist,
is not a man.
Yeah.
then she did produce an heir. Ever heard of the Queen of England?
Nope.
Ever heard of
not.
Cleopatra?
Who?
Ever heard of the Honorable who's the New Zealand Prime Minister?
Oh, she's a
cool.
badass.
You need to pay
So
more attention.
the subduction happens. There is, I think, I gotta say it. It's just kind of a tough look for Shay here. Like, you're stopped in the middle of nowhere. Let's drive to the embassy and deal with the cops there. Let's drive to the hotel.
Or at least like a
and deal with
fucking
the
gas
cops there.
station. They're like literally in the woods.
Like, what are we doing, Shay? And I think this gets into like some of that LATS planning we've been touching. First of all, there's a staggering lack of security. We got 2 guys, very formidable, but I don't know. I've seen more formidable, I would say.
Yeah, they don't give me a
And
lot.
I wish Taco would have been like, you know what, Shay,
I'm in
fuck
charge.
you,
Yeah.
and like drove off the minute
there's a
he asked
clear-
him to get out of the car.
That's what I was gonna say. There's a clear they need to be empowered. Like, hey, if there's any hint of a security issue, you're not in charge.
Situation. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the other problem with this. Is like if
Shay's
you're only
like,
going to have
just
2 of
do
them.
it. No, drive off. The minute he said get out of the car for no reason, he should have hit the gas.
Right.
I think before that, I think the fact that the cop was nervous walking up to the car and perceptively so.
And Shay, I feel like Shay's a little tipsy.
That should have been a huge fucking red flag.
Right, because they know it means they knew who's in the car.
Yeah, or someone's in the car that's like dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like, I was picturing Shay kind of leaned against the door, feet up on the thing, even though that's not how it's described at all. And just kind of a little drunk, little in her cups, feeling it, had a great night out. She's just not on her shit right here, and we need her to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need Taco and...
Yeah, they got him at the right time, too.
Who's the other guy?
Dudo
and
Taco and Dudo is kind of nuts. It's kind of a funny name combination.
Yeah, they should have been like, I'm sorry, Shay Jen, but no.
Yeah. Deal with Jin and yell at later.
Yeah.
Also, can we non-lethal channel into the top the second he's take off your weapons, just be like, bro. And just bang,
yeah, knock
him
the air
down,
out of him.
and then drive away and deal with it later. Be like, hey, there was a misunderstanding. She's literally been kidnapped before, so we're a little jumpy. Go back to the embassy.
Yeah.
It's
not a real cop anyways, right? Probably
not.
Could still be, but even so.
Yeah, we'll fucking deal with it later. I don't. Also, I get she's the weatherman, and I get she's past her physical prime, and she's wearing less Jade than she did in her peak because she lost the fight to Ite. But, we can't hit the Barracuda's ass. There's 3 of you guys.
Aren't there 12 of them, though?
That's what I was saying. I was kind of disappointed in
of
the overall performance. They
of
really
Taco
didn't,
and Dudu.
they didn't take anybody
and
out.
Shay.
Really.
Shay's a badass.
They needed Tar there, apparently, because he can beat up a crowd of 20 people.
And I get the Barracuda are actually dangerous and hardened criminals who know how to use Jade, but still, I need to see our green bone friends kick an ass once again.
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted them to go out fighting a little bit more. Overall,
Yeah, all 3 getting taken alive is tough.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
not fully alive.
one of them.
I think Wen's the liability.
I think Taco was carrying Wen, right? And he got shot 3 times, so that's fine. I'll give him a pass.
Right.
Judo got taken out to a pipe to the head. Come on, my dude.
Also, who brings a pipe to a
Pipe to the
Jade
head's
fight?
pretty fucking hard, though.
Well, it's just take some dudes out with you. They
I
really
think he
didn't
killed
get any
a
shot.
couple.
Yeah. I don't know.
Shay
They
killed
just-
a couple too, I think. Or
Killed at
Shay
least
killed
one.
one?
Yeah.
She
one.
killed one
one
and then
guy.
channeled into the wrong part of the other
Yeah.
guy.
Come on, Shay. This is like Hilo is fanatical. He's always working out and like practice and keeping his skills sharp. Where's the dedication from the rest of No Peak?
Yeah, there were several mistakes that were made.
Where's the
Hey,
passion?
having kids gives you different priorities.
Also, they're on the boring side of the clan.
Boring.
Yeah, these ladies are soft.
I do kind of wish, I know he gets stressed down by Hilo in the next chapter. I do think this would have been a cool opportunity for us to see Woon kind of go badass Woon, maybe.
He's got to think of Tia.
Could have been a cool little romantic getaway for them, and then all of a sudden he has to Hulk out.
Anyways, there were a lot of annoying mistakes made.
Right.
Yes.
It's just lackadaisical.
Uncharacteristic
all around.
from our power
But
gals here.
It's like they had to all make all of these mistakes for them to have this abduction, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think this was only driven by the movie studio thing? Like, it must be because they knew where they were staying. So
Yeah,
they knew
I
to kind
think
of intercept
so.
them. So the
And the movie
Baritone
studio
put this
guy-
movie together quick.
Right.
Or put this
The
plan
movie
together
studio
quick.
guy seemed very,
And he admits to
Scared of
that
these
too
people.
in the next chapter. Yeah.
yeah.
God damn. Tough. So Shay is forced to disarm and remove her Jade. Very degrading for her. And then Hilo gets the call while training with his nephew, mate Cam. Just wanted to shout that out. And he's pretty cold handling this whole thing together, all things considered.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gives him a little bit of a Taken speech.
mm-hmm.
Just-
Yeah, a little Liam Neeson here.
Yeah.
Also, Hilo's got to be like, really again? Like, come
He's
on,
like,
Wen. Stop
Stay
being
in
abducted.
K-Town.
I mean, I get that perspective a little bit, but also it's been how many years?
15?
But this is Shatar.
Yeah.
Been a
You
lot.
need to
It
be
might
a
have been 20
little
years.
smarter.
It's been a long time. Like, it's been a really, really long
It's
time.
been long enough that they joke about it. That
Right.
Hilo jokes about it is how long it's been.
Yeah.
No secrets, or whatever he says. Or no, you two are bad influences on each other.
And they still are.
They still are. But yeah, we get the sort of Taken speech where he's like, hey, you gotta look out for your men, not me. And then it ends with, if they're mistreated in any way, none of you will get to enjoy the jade or money you've gone to the trouble of getting from me, because you'll all die very badly. And the chapter, we don't know their identity yet. You're exactly as people say you are, Carl Hilo. You could be burning in hell and have some arrogant thing to say to the devil. Just to be, and then, typical kidnapper things. This is the second time we get the devil reference, right? I remember this caused a debate or a stir last time as well. I know we're late in the evening, late in the discussion. I just wanted to shout it out. What's going on with the devil in this world? Because the god, the equivalent of who I assume God would be in Espenia, is the seer, but we got the devil.
There's always devils out there.
So
Necessarily.
initially, I thought that initial conversation with the Shatarian movie studio executive, when he said whatever it meant, like whatever the translation was, like marry the devil, get the devil's mother, or like whatever that term was. I thought that's what he meant, was like,
Oh.
I don't want to get into bed with Hilo. Like, Hilo's the devil. Like, initially,
Yes,
that
but
was
then they
my
say
read
he's
on
already
it.
in bed with the devil, right? Like right up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that too. I gotcha.
But that doesn't answer your...
No,
comment.
it's just the
Or your
devil
question,
clearly
but-
exists in this world.
A devil of some sort, yes.
Yes. Creepy. But that brings us to chapter 45. Speaking of the devil, I guess. Very bad people. We cut from the aftermath of the call to Wen, in captivity and finding her captors even more ruthless than she anticipated, as they kill Taco after she attempts to get him medical care. From there, we flash back to K-Con and find the main call house a war room, with preparations being made to extract Shay, Wen, Dudo, and Taco, which, we don't need all four of those plans anymore.
Ouch.
So, even terrified and in captivity, Wen is observant and gathering little tidbits of info on her captors, I feel like.
Yeah, she's trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
She's good at
She's
it.
got some schemes going, I feel like.
Always scheming.
Yeah, these are just brutal. They're evil men. Felt very 80s action movie-esque where, like, we should do something about that noise. Bang! And just kill them.
Yeah.
It's, like, designed to show us that these are really, like, these are evil guys.
Yeah, they were just letting him suffer from gunshots.
Just showing us, like, this is not going to be easy. These dudes aren't going to just, like...
But they will
He's
actually
not gonna-
kill people.
Yeah.
You can't sweet talk them.
And you're just not going to show up with, like, green bones and, like, wipe them out or whatever.
Not going to scare them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also, like, for as good at this stuff as Gwen is, she's a little out of her depth even.
Definitely. I think that
And
was
then-
proved earlier in these chapters.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we get back to Tayton. We have cell phones, apparently, and they're, like, tracing the call. Hilo's fucking pacing around. There's more spy stuff going on.
Yeah, that was...
I am so excited to see where this evolves. Like just from a technology standpoint and the cross between technology and Jade and how it might come to, I don't know,
I'm not even sure I clocked this.
come to a marriage.
It's only
Okay,
because
clock
they were,
it.
like, bouncing the phone call. It was, like, bounced off a cell phone with a radio.
Yeah.
Let me make sure
These are
I'm
like
not talking
flip
out of my
phone.
ass.
Razors. These aren't smartphones.
I think this is well before razors. I think this is like before Nokia bricks. This is like the big ass giant like
Pull the antenna out.
Yeah, moving cellular
yeah,
phone to
pull
a
the
true radio.
antenna out fucking things.
This is like the movie Clueless.
Yes.
Yeah. Shoe phone
Mm-hmm.
sized cell phones.
Which is where we are now. Just they're flat.
True. Good point.
Yes. So despite how mishandled a lot of this was in Shatar, we do see the power of No Peak internationally and, like, the reach of their arm. Even in Shatar, we got White Rats getting intel. We have Hami able to uncover that the film guy was behind this and just, like, abduct him from his driveway. Hami still got it. You know what I mean? He's washed up. He's old. Clearly put his Jade back on, I guess. But him and those fingers,
Do
they
you
just
think he put
abduct
his
the
Jade
guy.
in? I
don't
feel like
know.
he could have abducted that guy without Jade.
He probably
that
could
guy
have.
seemed
And
pretty easily scared and
Yeah.
cowed.
it was just the vibe I got that he's put
He
his
could
Jade
have like
back on.
gotten him
I don't
into
think
the
it says it.
car with his hand in his pocket, shaped like a finger gun.
Yeah.
He'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, get in the car," and the
Just
guy
be like, I'm
would've
catching these,
complied.
get in the car.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry.
Anyway, Hami's just hard, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Definitely.
I'm getting at this wasn't a hard abduction.
No, but,
Right.
you know, still.
I liked how they figured it
Give
out.
him some
though.
credit, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Aaron says Hami's a baby.
my
Baby
point
fat
is
bitch.
we don't know if he has his Jade back on.
I thought it was
No,
pretty
yeah,
hopeless
that's a
when you
fair,
get that.
very fair point.
I thought it was hopeless when they got that call and they were like, "You'll never find us ever." Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Like,
Yeah, now they have a lead.
yeah. So this was like, I was like, oh sweet.
Yeah, they know what game
Yeah.
it is, at
Yeah.
least. And they know it doesn't seem like they know as much as you can know, I guess, that
Yeah.
the mountain is not involved and it's some other power play afoot.
I'm still holding out for Aimada.
I think they're gonna reach out to the mountain, or the mountain's gonna reach out to them, and we're gonna get some help
I mean, based on what
Yeah.
we know, that seems
reaching
logical.
across the aisle.
Seems like a great idea.
Yeah, but we leave you on a pretty tough cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready to
To keep reading.
keep reading. Yeah.
Thanks
Guess
a
I
lot,
should say-
Thomas.
The ransom demanded for Wen is 2 million thalers in cash and 40 kilograms of jade,
Mhm.
something to that effect, and then
Cut Jade specifically.
yes, so ready to go jade basically, and then they'll get Wen back, and then a week later, if No Pete pulls out of the country, they'll get Shay, and then whichever of the bodyguards are still alive.
Which,
And they have to do a public statement that they will not go to Shatar.
We'll see what happens
We
Next
shall
week
see.
in Jade Legacy.
Yeah. This was a tough cliffhanger.
Yep. So, who won the week? This was maybe the hardest one
Make tar.
I can remember.
He killed
Make tar.
himself.
Well, I mean, I think that's
he
kind
did
of what he
he
wanted.
did throat punch,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. You know, it could be the Shatarian gangsters.
I mean,
Damn
they
it.
had a pretty good week.
They had a
Andon facilitated a lot this week.
I was thinking Andon as well.
Yeah,
It's
Andon
like
did great.
puppeteering, puppet mastering.
And not even like puppet mastering, maybe a little bit in make Tar sense, but just advising
Yeah.
Right.
and being a
I guess
a
puppet
good role
model
model
mastering
for
makes
Nico.
it seem more sinister than it is. Advising. Yeah.
How many times has
Um,
Andon won
we
the
have-
week? Is he allowed to win
I
again?
think we have tar bets to pay off.
Oh shit!
So, PJ, I feel like we'll do this next time. It's too late to do it now. We'll pay off the tar bet next week, I think.
I'm out of drink.
Yeah, we're out of-
if
I'm
I
out of
lost,
drink.
I'm out. Let's do it. Let's remember to do that
Wow,
like
yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Or first thing in the episode.
With donuts.
That's not right.
That is too.
No, it's not.
I think it fits.
No, it doesn't.
No options. Call Tar. They don't have any options.
I see tar returns. And
And
totally redeems Let's go, baby.
I don't think any of those work.
Okay. So who won the week? Kind of. I heard Andon
Shatarian
from
Gangsters.
PJ. I think I'm also on the Shatarian Gangsters bandwagon. Ben, you rocking with Tar?
I'm saying
Where
I'm
you
sticking
swayed?
with Tar because he totally
Okay.
redeemed himself. I just want to get that on the record.
Scholars
You
have made that
fucking
argument. Will it be upheld?
Schemer.
Join us next week on Where's some Whiskey. So that's where we'll leave you for this week. Next week is our 7th episode, and we'll be talking about chapters 46 through the 3rd interlude.
Wow.
We're getting towards the
What-
end.
Thank you, Tim and Andrew, for keeping the show's lights on. Thank you, my wonderful, beautiful, amazing co-hosts, for
Wow.
being here with me and filling in the void that has been left
By our
by
Father.
Crossland, who has fallen into a porta potty by his butt.
Piss
His
boy
butt
is where he
stuck in a
belongs.
porta potty.
I hope he has his
and he
cigarettes
can't
with
get
him.
out.
Will Cross ever
Ben,
return?
Ben
That's the
doesn't
next
like
Spotify
toilet
poll.
humor.
Because he's a man
This
of
is
class.
literally toilet humor.
Yeah,
Sophistication.
Ben is not a fan.
Check out our show notes down below. I don't know. Is it below?
I think
Is it
when you listen to it, your
underneath
phone
here?
prints out an index card.
Oh, that's right. There's printers in modern phones
Mm.
now. They print out index cards. So look at that index card that your phone printed out when you started this episode, and you can then type in the links, the hyperlinks that have been printed out, where you can
We are devolving.
It was falling apart.
our schedule,
Dad's
our
not
previous episodes,
We need
our
Dad to come
websites,
back.
And they just like
social
we're not even drunk, we're
media
just tired.
accounts, all in one convenient location. Those social media accounts are Words Whiskey Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. If you want to email us and send us just wild shit that Crossland will read, and I don't read the emails because of spoilers, so send Crossland wild shit.
Send him porta
He
potty
can't tell me
memes.
not to say this at wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com. He's just on the porta potty. He has nothing to do but read your emails. So email him at wordsandwhiskyshow@gmail.com. Join our Patreon, where you can join this discussion and shape the way that these episodes go sometimes at patreon.com/words and whiskey. Is / still the vernacular? I think so.
I think so.
I don't know why it's different than a regular / but it is, I guess. And our t-shirts are still on TeePublic because Crossland hasn't gotten our t-shirt printer up and running yet, and he won't for a while because he's on the toilet and he's stuck. Thank you for your support. We love you. We miss you.
He's gonna.
I don't know why I said that.
He's gonna love.
Good to
this
see you.
episode.
We'll be here next week.
Okay, and don't forget to rate and review 5 stars only. If you don't give us 5 stars only, we will throat punch you.
When we get our Jade back.
It's succinct and true.
Bye.
Bye.